Many motorcyclists have their prejudices. I'm not talking about the warped and ignorant views some people hold about others with a skin color, religious or political beliefs that differ from their own. Education and a bit of global travel may help broaden those minds and combat xenophobia. But there's no way to fix stupid. No, I mean the irrational and usually ill-informed opinions many of us develop about two-wheeled vehicles, which are different to those we favor. You know the kind of thing. I hate scooters, even though the person saying these things has almost certainly never even sat on one, let alone ridden one. My own prejudices are rooted in inexperience and superficial thinking. Take Harleys, for instance. Ever since I arrived in Canada, I've had a negative view of the world of Harley-Davidson. Too many obnoxiously loud pipes, too many tassels, tattoos, and shiny seat studs, too much orange and black branded everything, too much pseudo-Wild West American gunslinger hero, high bars, stereo blaring, feet paddling at intersections, bad riding for my taste. And there were far too many of them. Every third bike is a Harley. And yet, darn it, every time I think I have a firm grip on this particular prejudice, I meet some Harley-riding people I like and admire, and encounter bikes which, if I could separate them from all that cultural baggage, would be a pleasure to ride and own. Just the other day I met a delightful fellow who'd ridden to a Motor Guzzi rally on his Milwaukee machine. It was long, low and burly, with a broad leather solo saddle and a headstock and instrument cluster that looked hewn out of a solid block of aluminum. When he touched the starter, it wheezed over top dead center before rumbling into life in the most enchanting way. He let it run for a few seconds on the choke, then it settled to a steady idle with a mellow burble from the exhausts. No look-at-me noise, no bling, an understated machine which managed to be cool, even in the company of a multitude of inherently cool Guzzis. I could love that bike. It was the kind of machine where you could draw up a chair, grab a beer, and let your eyes play over its patinated surface, and never get tired of looking. Yet for me, the brand is forever tainted by the sight of a woman with an unexpurgated, cross-shaped Harley-Davidson tattoo on her chest. No matter how wonderful the machinery may be, my mind can't separate the bikes from the worst elements of the culture. And it's a culture that I have no wish to join. This is one prejudice I'm destined to retain. While my feelings about Honda's ubiquitous Goldwings were never quite as harsh, I'd long ago relegated them to a category of bikes I will never own. I'd always liked the idea of big, heavy, powerful, full-luggage touring bikes. I'd seen them gliding by on the highway making barely a whisper. Their riders seemed relaxed and comfortable at whatever speed they were traveling. I could imagine the distances they might cover in a day. A few years ago I'd had a couple of Yamaha Ventures with the intentions of making two into one and getting it on the road. That plan fell through when I had a little heart trouble, and by the time I was out of hospital they were gone. Then, looking for something suitable to convey my wife and I on the rare occasions we rode together, I stumbled on the Suzuki Cavalcade. After 4 years and over 30,000 miles, the charging system had failed. My friend Norm needed a project, so I swapped it for a road-ready Goldwing, and the rest, they say, is history. But a Goldwing? Am I kidding? I'd always written off Goldwings as a bike most likely to be ridden by bloated suburbanites who could hardly lever themselves off the couch. Road sofas with all the luxury of an SUV, but with a fraction of its practicality. Boy, was I ever wrong. This 1992 Goldwing Aspencade has a low centre of gravity and a low seat height, which makes its considerable weight easy to handle, even at low speed. At normal riding speeds it feels light and agile, amazingly so for such a large barge. People load these bikes with every conceivable add-on, but Norm had stripped off most of the excess. Gone are the passenger armrests, the top rack and the accessory wings. Gone are the aerials, as I'll never use the CB or the cassette player and radio. Radios have no place on a motorcycle. They're pointless while you're riding, and only succeed in annoying others. I'll probably strip it out once I find out how. It's just excess weight. And the sound. I've always equated motorcycle sound with the rich and mellifluous bark of a British single, or the fruity rasp of an Italian twin. With 6 cylinders flapping around, there's no way to distinguish the pulses of each piston. Instead, there's a muted, turbine-like whine, more like a luxury sports car than a motorcycle. Once you're on the move, you can barely hear it anyway, which is fine by me. I'd read that Goldwings tended to last a long time, and if this one's anything to go by, it may be true. You might think that with over 100,000 miles on the clock it might feel a little tired, but it doesn't. Performance is crisp, and if the gearbox is a little clunky, I put that down to my poor technique and not any problem with the bike. Like all bikes, in over 30 years and a few different owners, it's acquired 1 or 2 dings, but it still looks pretty good. Will I keep it? That remains to be seen. As Mark Twain said, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. Certainly, I need to take 1 or 2 long trips to fully explore the Goldwings' touring potential, and to see whether I've banished those last vestiges of my prejudices.